around 4 properties. We will look into those properties and we will try to tackle it out. Okay. So very simple. You need to be very, very careful with it. Now, whatever the concept I have explained, it will help you out in understanding those properties. Okay. Let me start with the properties. Property number 1, sine inverse. Okay, you have to be very, very careful with this range and domain. Okay, so if you're going to have this domain, sine inverse of sine theta is always equals to theta. Cos inverse of cos theta is always equals to theta. This is your property 1. Okay, sine inverse or inverse of its angle, provided, please be careful, that should be there in your mind, inverse of its angle provided it is in the range. Which range? It is in the principal range. Then you can take it as theta itself. Cos inverse of cos theta is theta. Cos inverse of sec theta is theta. Getting it? Yes. Now, if you're going to get, because they will not ask you this question, isn't it? They'll not ask you what is cot inverse of cot theta. No, they will ask you cot inverse of negative 5 pi by 4. You have to be very careful. Check out whether it is positive or negative in the quadrant. In how you're going to find out that? I hope I have already told you about that, like 4 quadrants. All 4 quadrants. Add sugar to coffee. All are positive in the first quadrant. Sine and cosine is like a positive in the second quadrant. Tan and cot in the third quadrant, and cos and sec in the fourth quadrant. That's all. You just remember, add sugar to coffee. You'll be able to answer it, isn't it? This is property number 1. Yes. Now, sometimes they will ask you to prove that it is going to be this one. I'll take out one proof here: sine inverse of sine theta. So now look here, if you're going to take out sine inverse of sine theta, so what we will do is sine inverse of sine theta equals to theta, provided this is the range. Okay. So now what I will do is I will take, this is x, sine theta is going to be x. Okay. So sine theta is x. So if sine theta is x, can I say theta is going to be sine inverse x? Isn't it? Now, what is the answer they're telling? It is saying that it is going to be theta. And what is x? We know that x is sine theta. So can I say theta is nothing but sine inverse of what is x? Sine theta. Can I say sine theta? So we started with sine theta equals to x, and we got to know theta is sine inverse of sine theta, which is our proof. And how much mark you're going to get? You're going to get 2 marks for this. But you have to write down the statements, not just this one. Okay, whatever the value you're going to get, you have to mention that we are taking in the proper range. We are following the range. You have to mention that. If you're going to say that, you're going to mention, you're going to take out the same range, that we are satisfying the value of theta from minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. The range is very important. That's why I hope you remember I have given in the beginning itself, in the first set itself I have given. So you have to take sine inverse of sine theta equals to theta, and at last you just need to write down the values. Theta represents angle, and theta will be in radian. Always the theta will be in radian. That's why I have given you both explanation. Theta, which is nothing but 30 degree, is nothing but pi by 6. 60 is pi by 3. 45 is pi by 4. I've already given that. You need to be very careful. How to convert is theta like angle to radian. So if you have angle in the form of degrees, okay, so if you have degrees and you have to convert it to radian, okay, just multiply pi by 180. What you have to do when you are moving from this to this, you have to multiply what? Pi by 180. Now if you want to convert sometimes from radian to degrees, you can convert it to 180 by pi. It's just a reciprocal of it. So I hope it is clear. So let's move on to the next one. Property number 2. So yes, we are going to finish in next 10 to 15 minutes. We'll just close it out. Property number 2. There we saw sine inverse of sine theta is equals to theta, isn't it? Provided the range is there. Now we are going to take in a reverse way. So we are taking inverse inside and the normal angle outside. Sine of sine inverse x is going to be x. Cos of cos inverse x is x, provided x fall under the domain. Got it? Why domain? Because we are talking about sine inverse x. Be careful with it. There we have taken sine inverse of sine theta, we were talking about angle. For inverse trigonometry, angle is always giving you the range. For trigonometry, it is different. Please be careful with it. Theta is always going to give you the range, and whereas sine inverse of something, you're talking about inverse trigonometry, sine inverse of something. What is that something? That something in the question is nothing but domain. So it should fall under the proper domain. So you have to be a little bit careful with it. Okay. So now let's look into this. Sine of sine inverse x is going to be x, provided the value lies from -1 to 1. Similarly, cos of cos inverse x, tan inverse, cot of cot inverse, everything lies in the same domain there, provided you're going to have the fixed domain there. Got it? So this is about the second property. Let's because sometimes they will ask you to prove it for 2 to 3 marks. So let's look into that. I'm going to give you one proof. Similarly, you can prove it for the other one as well. Sine of sine inverse x. So now if you're going to take out sine inverse x, what you have done in the previous case? In the previous case, you remember for property 1, we took sine theta equals to x. Do the same thing here. So first take out sine theta equals to x. Once you took sine theta equals to x, can I say you will get theta equals to sine inverse x? I think this is exactly the same thing what you have done in the previous case, isn't it? So now what is this theta? Theta is sine inverse x. You just put it in the first equation. There you have done the reverse one. You put first equation into second, that's property number 1. Property number 2, second equation into first one. So what is theta? Sine of theta is nothing but sine inverse x is equals to x. So look here, this equation number 1, equation number 2. For property number 2, if angle comes outside, inverse comes inside, so you take out the second one into the first one. So it's going to be very simple. So be careful here. We are talking about the domain. X is a domain. X is just a number, isn't it? Sine inverse x, when you solve the value for angle theta, which is in radian, if you're going to take out the value, you will get the answer 1/2, √3/2. That's a number. If that is the number, you will have no unit. No need to worry about degree, no need to worry about radian. But when they give out for the range, of course, you have to mention that theta is in radians. Okay, theta is always in radians for inverse trigonometry. So this is a very simple thing. You will get it for minimum 2 marks or maximum 3 marks. If they're going to give it for 3 marks, just elaborate it. Just make sure that you write down all the substitution that you're going to write in, and you're going to say that x is a number and it will not have any unit. Okay. So isn't it simple here? So let's move on with the property number 3. So till now we have gone with sine of sine inverse x. That's the same thing, and all the pattern for all other trigonometric ratios. Next, we have also seen sine inverse of sine x and all the trigonometric ratios. Now, sine inverse of negative x. So we have to be very careful with it. Okay. So now look into this. Sine inverse of negative x. Sine inverse of negative x, it's talking about the last quadrant, isn't it? For that, if they talk about positive and negative, I've already told in the beginning, if they're talking about positive and negative, what you have to do? You have to add sugar to coffee. Always remember this. Whenever they are going to talk about an angle with a positive sign, or with a sign which is, or with a value which is greater than pi, what you have to do? You can solve, but before solving, what you do? Add sugar to coffee. Your problem is solved, isn't it? It's a very simple thing. Add sugar to coffee before solving any problem. Your problem is solved, isn't it? So let's look into this. Sine inverse. So can I say sine inverse negative? Negative theta talks about this quadrant, and in this quadrant, is positive. Is it sine positive? No. Sine is positive in this case. Tan is positive in this case, isn't it? So we are talking about fourth quadrant. Fourth quadrant, this is negative. So write down negative sine inverse x. Isn't it? Next, cos inverse of minus x. When you have cos inverse of minus x, here when you talk about inverse, you always start moving from this 180 degree, because we are not moving in this direction, we are moving in this, but it is always going to be the other case. So what you do, you write down pi minus cos inverse x. Why pi minus cos inverse x? We know that range of the values of cos inverse is going to be 0 to pi. If you're going to have something which is below that, you have to write pi minus, isn't it? Okay, next tan inverse, again tan is also negative in this case, directly write it down. And cot inverse is going to be reverse of it, because cot value will also change from pi minus cot inverse x. You have to be very careful, it has to be negative here. So everything will be negative, but you have to see where you're going to add pi there, pi minus something. You have to be very careful with that. Okay, this is property 3. So now again they might ask to prove it. So let's look into this. Prove that sine inverse of minus x is equals to negative sine inverse x. So how we are going to take it out? If you're going to observe it, sine inverse of negative x is theta. So I'm going to take out negative x is going to be sine theta, isn't it? So it's just simple here. Sine inverse of negative x is going to be theta. If you take inverse connecting it to this, I can say sine theta is equals to negative x, isn't it? So sine theta is equals to negative x. So we have got negative x is sine theta, or can you say x is equals to negative sine theta as well? I'm trying to take out negative over the other side. Okay, x is equals to negative sine theta. So what is this minus sine theta? We know from that add sugar to coffee, negative sine theta is going to be sine of negative theta, isn't it? Sine of minus theta is minus sine theta. So I can write it as x is sine of minus theta. So now if you're going to take out the inverse of it, it gives minus theta is equals to sine inverse x, which will give you sine inverse x is equals to negative sine inverse x. Why? Because theta is nothing but sine inverse x here. So you got negative theta is equals to sine inverse x. You can see what is negative theta. What is theta here? Sine inverse of minus x. So you take theta over the other side. Theta is equals to negative sine inverse x, isn't it? What is the theta you have taken? You have taken sine inverse minus x. You write down sine inverse of minus x is equals to minus sine inverse x. This is your final answer. Done with it, isn't it? You have to be very careful. Very simple thing. This also you will be getting it for 2 to 3 marks. So any derivation you are going to get it for 2 marks or 3 marks, you will be able to solve it in a very fast way. Okay. So let me go out with one more property. We have one last property here. Property number 4. Yes. Be careful with this. Sine inverse x plus cos inverse x is pi by 2. Sine and cos is matching there. Tan and cot is also pi by 2. Sec inverse and cosec inverse is also pi by 2. So please just remember this, sine and cos. You remember how to tackle it out. So again you will say, sir, you told we will not memorize. Yes, of course we will not memorize. You remember the change concept what we have taken during while I was explaining add sugar to coffee. I told there are 2 things. One is the change concept, another one is the odd even concept, isn't it? Odd even concept is what? With respect to, if you're going to match it with respect to horizontal, no change. If you're going to match with respect to vertical, yes, change, isn't it? So that is the one which I was talking about. So if you're going to talk about the change, what is the change? If you're going to go with respect to the vertical, sine and cos is getting changed. Tan and cot is getting changed. Sec and cosec is going to get changed. That's the same thing. Apply the change concept. You will get to know the pattern here. Sine inverse x plus cos inverse x is pi by 2. Tan inverse x plus cot inverse x is pi by 2. Sec inverse, these are nothing but change pairs. Isn't it simple? Done with it. That's all we have with the lesson. So in quick, we will solve some 3 to 4 questions, and then we will wind up with this. So let me take out some 3 to 4 questions here. Yes, any doubts you have, you can please ask. Okay. Yeah, last doubts while taking out the question itself. Yeah. Now look here, this is the question from paper 4, that is March 2020. Okay. So look here, almost all the questions, whatever I have taken, yes, practice questions, I've already taken it. Now, along with that, yes, past papers. These are the actual papers which has been taken. This is the beauty of attending this class. As you attend it, you will be able to tackle, you will be able to understand what are the different levels. I'm not just going to take out like a MCQ. I'm taking MCQ questions, assertion reasoning, subjective question, all the different types. It's not like we are going to have only this one. We're going to add masala. India is known for masala, isn't it? We are just going to go out with that. Okay. The value of sine inverse cos of 3 pi by 5. So how you're going to tackle it? So let me solve one question, then we will look into the next one. Okay. So sine inverse cos of our target is 90 seconds, 3 pi by 5. So it will be very good if we have sine inverse of sine theta, because we know sine inverse of sine theta is going to be theta, isn't it? So it means it is giving us a hint, convert this cos into sine, isn't it? So now cos and sine are the change concept, isn't it? So can I say cos theta is sine 90 minus theta? Isn't it? So can I write it as cos theta is sine 90 minus theta, which is nothing but sine inverse of sine of pi by 2 minus theta, which is pi by 2 minus 3 pi by 5. So now, yes, of course, we are going to fall into negative part here. So negative part is not going to worry because we are going to take it out in that part. So I can say here it has sine inverse of pi by 2 minus 3 pi by 5. If you're going to take it in the other quadrant, I can say it is going to be pi by 10. So what is sine inverse of sine pi by 10? It's just going to be pi by 10. That's our answer, option A. Very simple. So what is the hint? What's the catch here? If you have got sine inverse of sine, what is the property here? Property is going to be property 1 or maximum property 2, property 3, property 4. Just keep that 4 properties in your mind. You'll be able to tackle any questions in inverse trigonometry. Answer is going to be option A here. So next, let's see how many of you are going to solve this. Yes. Yes, it's an assertion reasoning question. And be careful while solving it. Cosec inverse 3 by 2 plus cos inverse 2 by 3 minus 2 cot inverse 1 by 7 minus cot inverse 7 equals to cot inverse 7. So look here, I've told you, you have to solve each and every question in 30 seconds. Now, if you're not, not 30 seconds, it should be 90 seconds for your exam. Now, some questions can be solved a little bit faster, so you have to save those time so that you can solve it here. So here, solving in 90 seconds is a little bit difficult. So you have to be a little bit careful and you should be able to solve it faster. Yes, let's see how many of you are going to get the answer. Yes, what's the answer? Just write down the answer A, B, C, D in the option box. That's enough. Yes. C. Okay, be careful, please be careful with that. It's just sometimes you will get to know, yes, this is the answer, but there will be mind games. You have to be very careful. You should not skip anything. You have to be very, very careful with it. So just check it out. So can I say this is the basic thing we know? Just now we saw, what was it? It was a change concept. Sine inverse x plus cos inverse x is pi by 2. Tan inverse x plus cot inverse x is pi by 2. Cosec inverse x is equals to sine inverse. Yes, sine and cosec are reciprocal. You can take it out, isn't it? Cot inverse x is equals to tan inverse of 1 by x. Yes, of course. So can I say reasoning is true? So if reasoning is true, can I eliminate option C? Because it says reasoning is false. So you have to check out whether assertion is false. In order to check out assertion is false, then you have to look into that. If assertion is true, then you have to go out with R is the correct explanation. Assertion and reasoning are 2, and R is the correct explanation. Yes, we are going to use that. So either A or D will be the answer. Okay, so let's look into this. So now if it is not related, then I would have given B, but R is having some explanation over here. So let me solve this. Cosec inverse 3 over 2 plus cos inverse 2 over 3 minus 2 cot inverse 1 over 7 minus cot inverse 7 is equals to, they're saying it is cot inverse 7. Okay, so let's solve this out. Check it out. What is the value here? So we'll not equate it there. So we will solve it now. So now if you're going to look into this, cosec inverse 3 by 2, can I say cosec inverse 3 by 2 is nothing but sine inverse of 1, cosec inverse 1 by cosec inverse x is sine inverse of 1 over x. So can I convert it here? Because they have given a hint, sine inverse 2 over 3. Okay, plus cos inverse 2 over 3 is there. isn't it? So now if you're going to look into this, sine inverse x plus cos inverse x is going to be pi by 2. Can I write pi here? Right? Next, minus 2 cot inverse 1 by x minus 1 by x or 1 by 7. Here we have cot inverse 7. So can I convert it as tan inverse? So can I write 2 times tan inverse, what is it? 7 minus cot inverse 7. So now if you're going to look into this, tan inverse x plus cot inverse x is pi by 2. So we have here 2 tan inverse. So I will take only 1 tan inverse. So I will write minus tan inverse 7. Left out is what? One more tan inverse 7 and cos inverse. So if you're going to take minus outside, minus tan inverse 7, I'll write down clearly. In exam, you need not write it, plus cot inverse 7. If I put this in bracket, isn't it? It's negative and negative. So if you're going to look into this, this is again going to be pi by 2, which you will end up with pi by 2 minus tan inverse of 7 minus pi by 2. So I can eliminate this pi by 2 and pi by 2. Left out is negative tan inverse of 7, but they are talking about cot inverse. So if I'm going to convert it, I can convert it as negative cot inverse of 1 over 7. So now, yes, it is not the one because it is telling cot inverse x. So yes, assertion is false. So I can say answer is option D, which is assertion is false, but reasoning is true. Yes, I could see like only few people have given D as the answer. So be careful, guys. You just need to solve a question in 90 seconds. So at that time, you have to be very careful. No need to worry about the steps. Sometimes, yes, you need to solve it, but you better make sure that it is right. Okay. I hope you are taking it down. Let me go to the next question then. I'll take out one more question, then we'll move on with question question and answer if you have any doubts. Okay. Find the value of sine inverse of sine of minus 17 pi by 8. So how are you going to take it? So here in this case, you can see sine inverse of sine theta is fine. But what was the catch there? You know that the value should be between minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. But here it is going to be very huge, isn't it? So you have to bring it down here. So what is it? So it has to be between minus pi by 2 to pi by 2, isn't it? So now leave this pi. It is going to be how much? 17 by 8. Can I say 17 by 8 is something which is 2 times, isn't it? It's going to be 2 point. I can say 125. It is more than 2, isn't it? So it means it's better we subtract 2 pi there. So what I'm going to do is sine inverse of sine. I'll bring it below 2 pi. Sine inverse of sine of. So you have to take it in the form of 2 pi. Can I say negative is there? So can I take negative 2 pi plus pi by 8? Right? And we also know sine inverse of negative sine x, isn't it? So it is this negative, I can take it outside because we know sine inverse of sine of minus x is going to be minus x. So I'll take minus outside here. So now it's completely positive. I can take sine inverse of sine 2 pi plus pi by 8. 2 pi is a complete zero again, so we can ignore it. I can write pi by 8. So sine inverse of sine theta, is it in between this range? Yes, it is there. So it is going to be pi by 8 itself. The answer is going to be negative pi by 8. That's a very simple thing here. Okay, you just look into it here. Let me check out with the answer. Yes, you can see here we have even got the answer, and it is going to be negative pi by 8. So you have to be very careful. The explanation is already given for each and every question you have. Okay, so be careful. Don't just use the explanation. Solve it, then use the explanation to cross verify your answers. Okay, let me go out with one more. Yeah, look here. Past paper, and then ask the direct question. How much marks it for? It is for 2 marks. You can see this silly question, you're going to get it for 2 marks. That's a lottery. You have got a domain. Domain you will have for 1 mark, and range you have for 1 mark. What is the domain? I don't think it's a tough part. They're asking for this one. I have already explained it, isn't it? What is the domain of tan inverse of x? Domain is it's going to be like this, isn't it? We are going to have a graph like this here, and this was the setup, isn't it? Sorry, not this one. This is how was the setup, isn't it? So domain is what? Domain is going to be R. What is the range? Range is going to be this dotted line to this dotted line. What is it? Minus pi by 2 to pi by 2. But you have to be very careful. Those are not included. So you have to put in a big normal bracket. Okay. So you can check it out. Yes, it is in normal bracket and it's not the big bracket. So you have to be very careful. It's not a big bracket here. Okay. So let me, I think that's done. And yes, one question I'll display it, and I want you guys to give out the value in the question answer section. Okay. So this is a homework for you guys. Give out your answer in the question answer section and the comment box. Just let me know if you have any doubts over there. Yes, I'll wait for 2 to 3 minutes, or if you have more doubts. Yes, it's super clear. Okay, I'd love to hear that. Thank you so much. Yes, I hope everyone is very, very clear with this trigonometric concept now, isn't it? Have I ever asked you to by heart even a single formula in this case? It's just a different approach. Maths is not just about memorizing formula. You can even understand and solve. It's just about understanding. Very simple thing. Yes. Yes, all tricks. Yes, the tricks were helpful. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Mrilanini. Yes. Okay, I think I have pronounced your name correctly. Sorry if I have not pronounced it correctly. I tried. Okay. Okay, Darshan, good. It was a good session. Okay, good. Thank you. Yes, and also please make sure whatever the question you're going to take it, or whatever the question you have taken it over there, the last question, and I have taken one more question earlier. I want you guys to put your answer in the comment section, okay? And also put it in the Q&A section. I'll be waiting for your answers over there. So I hope that's all, and I don't think like there's any doubt, and no one's asking any doubt. Yes, and thank you so much, and it was great listening to the session. And being present throughout the session, and of course, yes, thank you so much for being connecting, and thank you so much for interacting throughout the session. And it was a lovely session for me as well, because it's not just a one way. We have a question answers section which is open, and it's like I found like I could see like I have in just 2 hours I can see there are like 700 responses. Oh my god, that's great. So that's a great thing. Yeah, trying answering out. I just took it out around 8 to 9 questions, isn't it? And yes, about the tricks and some feedbacks. Yeah, thank you so much. And yes, be live in this section, and we will have live classes, and we will just rock it out. Okay, so all the best for your next sessions, and all the best for your exam from now itself. And please prepare well. If you're putting 2 hours effort for your exam earlier, now put half an hour extra, next 1 more hour extra. It is going to shape your career, guys. Please understand, this 12th exam is going to give out a big change. Not just 12th, once it is done, you will have the next coming exam. You have JEE, those who are taking JEE, those who are taking like a NEET, those who are taking CET. So please look into it. You can shape. And of course, 50% of your CET result, NEET result, JEE main, everything again depends on your 12th score. Please don't ignore it. Whenever you're studying, try to connect it with your previous year. That's nothing but 11th standard, because that is also very, very important. Connect it to this and study. You will even remember that, and you will be able to solve this as well. Okay. Thank you. And thank you so much for being there throughout the session, and being interactive. And hope we will see soon, and we will see the next session. Thank you. Have a nice day.